Hey guys, it's Miss Young. You're going to be learning about the Articles of Confederation. Just another reminder that your module is due at the end of the day today at 4 p.m. This is the second part of 3 parts for this particular lesson today while I'm out. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll start out with a quick video. So pay close attention.
It's 1781. The states are all fighting. No one has the power to get anything done. The Articles of Confederation turn out to be a blueprint for political disaster. So, what exactly were the Articles? Many of us vaguely remember them as America's original Constitution, the flawed prototype for our federal government, right?
No one thought of them as a constitution. The states had constitutions because the states were the sovereign entities.
The Articles were explicitly designed to have a weak central government and very strong state governments.
Under the Articles, the 13 original states aren't states as we know them today, but more like independent sovereign nations. There aren't 3 branches of government like we have today either. What little power there is wielded by the one and only branch, the Congress.
The revolutionaries wanted to keep the Congress very limited in power for fear that it could become another British Parliament, and whatever power the states would give to it, it might turn that power against them. So they made sure that the real power of government remained on the state level.
Instead of passing laws that the 13 states must obey, the most Congress can do is ask pretty please. The biggest disaster in this flawed system is the economy. 13 different paper currencies flood the country, fueling runaway inflation. Unregulated tariffs push prices sky high. And the central government is always broke, since it has no power to levy taxes.
And so at every level, from Congress to the states to the towns to the individuals, people are strapped. And this is one of the reasons why that a new way of thinking about the form of government, the authority of government, and the way in which revenue should be raised becomes central to the questioning and the revisioning of the Articles of Confederation.
But for those Americans desperate for food and jobs, a debate about fixing the government isn't enough. They want to take the whole thing down. In 1786, a former captain in the Revolutionary Army, Daniel Shays, leads a mass revolt against the government and attacks the Federal Armory in Massachusetts. It takes the battle-scarred Massachusetts militia to finally put down the rebellion. But a new wave of uprisings seems like a sure thing, unless Americans can come together and agree on how to run the country.
So the first government said something has to be done. We either have to strengthen or replace the Articles of Confederation with something that is more workable and not as weak.
Okay, so let's kind of refresh our memory. Think back to the American Revolution when we fought all these battles. Somewhere in there, we wrote the Declaration of Independence, which you just took notes about. And that Declaration of Independence, we listed all the reasons that we hate the king, and we call those grievances. And one of those things that we hated about what the king did to us was the fact that he would tax us without allowing us to have representation in the British Parliament across the ocean. And so then we have, we declare independence, and then we have to set up our own government. Our first government effort was called the Articles of Confederation. And when we wrote this, we were so raw. Our feelings and our emotions were so raw from the experiences we had under the British Parliament that we were so adamant about making sure we did not allow a government to treat us that way ever again. And so one of the things we established was the fact that we weren't going to be run over. We set up a weak central government. And then you had Shays' Rebellion take place, where you had some, Daniel Shay was pretty ticked off about the fact that they were being taxed by the states so heavily, and they were being forced to go to jail until they were able to pay off their taxes. So Daniel Shay got some men, they gathered up, burned down the courthouse, and there was really nobody there to stop them because the central government did not have any military power to handle that situation. And this scared a lot of people. So what we're going to do is quickly run through our high five, low ton. Yes, go ahead and get your thumbs out. You don't have to say this out loud, but it is very necessary for you to have this confidently memorized. So L, limited military equals no protection. O, 1 vote per state, regardless of population. T, takes 9 out of 13 states to pass a law. U, unanimous consent to amend the AOC. And N, not allowed to collect taxes. Okay, so think these are all the weaknesses of the Articles of Confederation. Here's the 2 things we love. Okay, Northwest Ordinance of 1787 and the fact that we did limit the government because we did not want to deal with another tyrannical king that like we experienced under British control. So why did we set up our first government, which ended up failing miserably? Well, let's think back to the Declaration of Independence. One of the main arguments we had was our taxation without representation. They imposed taxes on us without our consent, okay, like the Sugar Act, the Tea Act, the Stamp Act. We had the Intolerable Acts. I mean, a bunch of things that went on that were so devastating to our colonists. And so what did we do when we set up our first government? Well, we made sure that we never dealt with another tyrannical, overpowering, crazy king, and we made sure that the government was not allowed to collect taxes, okay, because we didn't want to deal with another king that was taking our taxes. So again, you always need to think backwards. You always got to think back ahead, prior to what has happened and what were our other experiences that made us make decisions about our government. And if you can do that, you're going to understand. It's kind of like when you're a kid, and if you take a cookie out of the cookie jar and mom said no, well, there's going to be consequences to that. Maybe the next time you will know, well, maybe I shouldn't do that. So it's kind of the same idea. If you don't want to deal with a tyrannical king, you're going to set up your new government to keep that from happening again. So hopefully you have a better understanding of the Articles of Confederation. And now you'll be able to answer the questions on the quiz that follow hereafter.